Okay, welcome to All Access Coaches Corner with Rising Coaches. If you haven't been to Rising Coaches website yet, please go to www.risingcoaches.com. Check out all of the awesome features. We all want to rise in this coaching profession in one way or another, whether it's X's and O's, network, job opportunities, knowledge, whatever it may be. All those things you can get with Rising Coaches, just $10 a month. So definitely check that out. We have a super special guest panel today with the Rising Coaching family members that are stars in this Zoom era right now. They're taking over, and I look forward to giving you a small intro on them. But since there's some important people that know them just a little better than I do, so I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce first. So we'll let ladies go first. Juliana, if you don't mind saying a few words about Ashton, and then we'll let Coach Davis say a few words about Erin.
Yeah, so Ashton became the Zoom queen as soon as the coronavirus hit. And what I love about Ashton is she doesn't wait for permission or someone to tell her to do something. She takes initiative, and that's going to take her so far in life.
Love it. Thank you very much for that. And then Coach Davis, if you'll say a few words about Erin before I introduce him and we get started.
Man, I've known Erin since she was maybe 13 years old. Kind of watched her grow up, make it through college, and just turn into a young woman. But through the years, she's just been a great person, a great teammate. Has evolved to a great friend, someone who I think is just going to be successful in life because of her tenacity, but more importantly, just her enthusiasm, her zest, and how well she gets along with people.
Well said, Coach. Well said. So just excited. This is our first female guest that we've ever had on Coach's Corner. And I thought it was only right to get some pioneer, world-changing women that are part of the family of Rising Coaches to be our first guest. So super excited. I've gotten to know Erin a little bit closer because she works with Rising Coaches and keeps all of us out of trouble and in line, and she's definitely done that with me. She's very good at what she does. She's awesome. She is a light. Both of them are light in this industry, light in what they do and how they impact people, and just so selfless, very selfless, servant leaders, fearless in their own ways. Ashton may be a little more bold with her braids than Erin, who sometimes can be a little more shy and polite about how she's fearless, but she's still fearless nonetheless. So much respect for both of them, and for them to be doing what they're doing at their age in this space in their career. I just can't wait to see what else they're going to continue to do. And Ashton, I probably have gotten on her nerves a little bit as like a older brother, kind of reaching out, like encouraging along the way, sending a message. I got a chance to attend a few of the women in sports. My very first one, I was so impressed with their chemistry and their just their feel for this spotlight to serve others, and so great at it they are, and have had countless guests and have really just taken this pandemic Zoom era, as Juliana said, the Zoom queen. Ashton probably wears that crown, and then slowly then Erin snuck in there with her, and they've collaborated and made this power team. So I love the fact that both of them are women of Christ, and they love the Lord and want to glorify him in what they do as well, which will also just be another reason why they're successful. But both of them have unique stories. Can't wait to hear more, and love the fact that Ashton, I didn't actually know this at first, but she's on the she works on the men's side, which I think even more is awesome that she's working on the men's side, but still highlighting women in sports. So anyway, without further ado, I'll let them have some opening words, and then we'll get the party started. Either one, feel free, whoever wants to go first.
Ashton's gonna keep that mic on mute.
You do have to unmute. You can't stay on mute, even though I know you probably want to.
I just want to say thank you. Gerald's my AAU coach. He's like my dad, so that was really awesome. I miss him. I miss seeing him all the time. But yeah, we're super excited to be here. Like we said earlier, like super nervous too. So now we know what our guests go through.
Yeah, no, this is
Right?
really
It's good for you to be on this side of the line.
sorry, but
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. No, Erin said exactly what I was thinking also, but it's been really, really good like during quarantine to have a lot of coaches, administration. But Erin and I talked about probably like 4 times today. I think this is going to be such a great opportunity for us to like be more confident in how we speak and share our story, but because I think like every time somebody shares their story, it helps somebody else out, whether you know it or not. So I'm really excited to get to do this with Erin too.
Amen. Amen. So the tag team. So tell everyone how you guys met. So I may go out of order a little bit, Ashton. I know you prepared. So don't get frustrated with me, okay? So just tell everybody how you guys met and how you guys kind of hit it off the way you have.
Well, I was doing Zooms with rising coaches, like Julie said, from like the beginning of quarantine, and probably a month and a half in, we were starting to think like, hey, we've done a lot of coaching, but like we need to get more female perspective, more female coaches. And Brandon had met Erin through LinkedIn, I think, or something. Erin called him, and they were Adam and Brandon, who are the co-founders of Rising Coaches, were like, you have to call this girl Ashton, like call her now. And it was just like, boom. So we met through the phone. Erin, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I met Brandon through a internship boss that I had when I was going to school in Buffalo. So like same thing. But yeah, then basically I just found Rising Coaches and was like, holy crap, this is awesome. Like this is something that I think like discouraged me from being a coach, was just like the inauthentic part of it and the scariness of it. And so then I was like, this is awesome, but where are like the females, where are the women and things like that to really look up to and stuff. And then that was when they were like, wait, no, yeah, like that's exactly what we want. Like we're looking to grow that, and put me in contact with Ashton, or Ashton contacted me, and then yeah, literally met on the phone, and I think it was like a Wednesday and we had a show Friday. It was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So was that the first women in sports show? Go ahead, Ashton.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is literally 24 hours before I called Erin, I had contacted 3 coaches and was like, hey, we're going to start this thing. I didn't call it Women in Sports, but I was like, hey, I want you 3 on to be female perspectives. Talked to Erin the next day, came up with the name the next day, and then it was like, bam. And then it just became a weekly thing.
That's awesome. So before, tell us what you were doing before, because you said you were doing something before. Obviously, I know about Grow the Game. Is that what you're referring to?
So Grow the Game actually probably happened around the same time as Women in Sports. So before I was doing Grow the Game and Women in Sports, I was having just Zoom like network sessions, because relationships are like a really big thing for me. So I created like manager and graduate assistant and intern and support staff role like networking sessions. And then I was having different coaches on speaking. And then I was doing that on my own at the time, kind of putting it together, doing it on my own. Then I met Erin, and it flourished into Women in Sports. And then I met Jake Sirota, who's at Clemson, and it flourished into Grow the Game. So it was going really well, like on my own. But I think like a key component of it growing as it was is I found Jake and Erin, and they've helped me tremendously.
Awesome. Awesome. And Erin, so how did you kind of get linked into where you were available to do the Zooms, if you don't mind me asking, before we kind of get going?
Yeah, absolutely. So my life was I feel like what happened with everyone when COVID happened. So I was actually a graduate assistant at Southern Illinois. Coach Jerry Kill brought me in. He was the athletic director there at the time. Now he's at TCU coaching football. But I arrived at Carbondale, and it was great. My parents met there. My grandparents lived there. It was a great opportunity. I decided to not be a basketball GA and just be an admin. And I learned so much and worked every home game, and it was crazy. And I went home I had 3 days off, and I went home, and then COVID happened. And then I went to just kind of was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of people that I hadn't been able to really keep in touch with, that I had great relationships with, I really just started calling people and reaching out and just catching up with them. And that was kind of when I talked to Allie, who put me in touch with Brandon, and then initially Ashton. So our first Zoom show, I was at home in my parents' house in Chicago. And then the second show, I was moving out of my house in Carbondale to then move to Denver. And then my third show, I was in Denver. So I just was all over the place for sure. So it definitely was like a great place to just like be where I was at on those nights and do something that, you know, we're so passionate about. So it was awesome. It was a freak show. It was awesome.
So Ashton, how did you actually come up with the name? How did you ladies actually come up with the name? Was it easy? Did the first show, did you have a name? Did you evolve that as it went, or how did that go?
I love the simplicity of women in sports because at first we were trying to like throw names in there. So we were like empowering women in sports. We were like fierce women in sports, and we were like, this is just not working. And so we just like ended up women in sports. And so that was like our fifth try. But like, I think we were like so focused on like this catchy name that was going to get everybody. But in actuality, like the name doesn't matter. It's what we bring to the table and who we bring on and like what we're giving to people. So the name, we like struggled for probably 3 or 4 hours, and then we're just like women in sports.
It was like women in sport for like the longest time. We couldn't marry, like we weren't married to the S. We were like, I don't know. But then we had like this awesome graphics team that was like spitting out all these graphics and doing these really cool backdrops and stuff. And like there was an S on there. And so we were like, it's a sign. Like, let's just women in sports, like women in all sports. We don't want it to just be basketball, like women's basketball. We want it to be every walk of life, every type of area in the sports industry. So the S made the cut.
We wanted it to be inclusive for sure.
And the rest is history. So tell us a little bit about, so let's go background wise. Let's go, we'll start with family. And then also if you can tell us just something funny, either Zoom or non-Zoom that's happened during this quarantine. And then tell us a little bit about just your family in general. Either one can go first.
You got it.
Okay. So kind of like what I said, I was in the middle of a lot of crazy stuff. I absolutely love my family. I'm really, really, really close to my parents. I'm the baby. I have an older brother who has a bunch of kids and has his own family and stuff. So quarantine, actually, it's really funny. I love my family so much. I like decided to not stay there because I have this fear of like, if I stay at my house for too long, I will like grow roots, live there forever, never leave. Just the way my parents like love me so well and take care of me and things like that. So that was kind of, I was like, if I stay here for all of quarantine, if I stay here for more than a week, I will end up living here. So I decided to move to Denver. So that's been my quarantine story for sure.
Awesome. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, quarantine was really good. So I've been back in Lawrence since the middle of June. So I haven't been home in a while, but for me, the past 3 summers since I graduated high school, I filled it with camps. So quarantine was the first time in like 4 years that I had been at home that long. And so that was like really, really good. And like my background, my dad has been a coach for over 30 years. He coached collegiately. He's been at the high school level the past 11. And so that was even so good to like get to be at home with him every day, because while he was coaching in college, like I didn't get to see him a lot. Even in high school, like I was playing my sports, he was on the road a lot. So like that was a really good bonus. And my family is just really tight knit. Like we have a family group chat, we text in it a lot of times during the day. You know, my grandma might call me once a day, maybe twice a day. I'm FaceTiming her. Like this morning, my grandpa FaceTimed me, and like I was reading in the Bible and he happened to be reading in the same passage. And so we talked about that for like 30 minutes before I got to go to school today. So quarantine was really, really good. But like looking back, it's not funny, but it's just like a reminder that there's a lesson in everything. I was on Zoom so much that I think I could have spent more time with my family. So I think that's something like if I were to go home for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, like shutting off the computer, just knowing like that work-life balance. And that's something I like have still been growing in, but I really enjoyed quarantine. But definitely I think I could have spent some more time. But luckily my grandma was cooking dinner every night, so we ate dinner together every night. So quarantine was really a blessing, even though all the bad happened, but there was a lot of good too.
Yeah, I think that's what we continue to learn as coaches, how to make good out of situations that may not be good. So, and then the work-life balance never ends, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you have extended family or family that's close by. I think that's awesome. You have a group chat. Shout out to Grandma and Grandpa for being in the group chat and knowing how to FaceTime. I love it. Yeah, definitely. The quarantine's been, we've all found some good in it. So love to hear those stories. So tell us a little bit about, I know we have a former player here in Erin, and I'm a former player as well. And I know you're still in school. Erin just finished school. Tell us a little bit about just your basketball background, how your love for the game grew. Tell us about playing for Coach Davis a little bit, sprinkle that in there, and then how you ended up being on the men's side at Kansas. Tell us a little bit about. We'll let whoever go first.
All right.
All you, Ash.
Okay. Yes. So I started out. I played 3 sports in high school, so I definitely didn't play year-round basketball, but I was doing basketball, volleyball, soccer, and I got the opportunity out of high school. I had a scholarship to an NAIA school called Evangel, and so like I said, my dad was a coach my whole life. I knew I was going to be a coach since I was 6 years old. I wanted to be like my dad, and I was always that kid. I wasn't super talented, but I could teach my teammates the plays, and I knew how to communicate, and I was energetic, so I brought those intangibles to the team. So I got a chance to play. First weekend, I get injured. I end up having spine surgery first week of college, and it was just a very hard first semester. So I ended up withdrawing from Evangel and transferring to a different NAIA to play. Finished out my red shirt my sophomore year, got cleared, got hurt again, ended up walking away from the game, and then found Missouri Baptist in St. Louis my second semester of my sophomore year. And it's so crazy because I ended up transferring 3 times. My third transfer was to Kansas. Now I've been here 2 years. It's been really good. But when I went to MOBAP, I was injured, I was out of shape, and I still got a scholarship. So I got 3 chances to play collegiately. And so I'm super thankful for that. But it's almost crazy to wrap my head around that people kept giving me that opportunity. But something that Coach Pearson at Missouri Baptist said was that, that basketball IQ was always there. And for me, at MOBAP, I played maybe 30 minutes. I think that's being generous. I don't even know if I played 30 minutes that final semester of basketball. But he really gave me a voice. As soon as I stepped on campus, I was talking in practice. I was talking to the team about what we could do. And so I really am thankful for my playing career, because I think that truly elevated me to my manager role at Kansas. And so I'm so thankful, but I knew that it was a huge leap of faith coming to Kansas. But I tell everybody, I was led here for more than just basketball. I ended up getting baptized this past December, found Jesus, gave my life to him. And so it has been during quarantine, it's been such a good time of transformation, the past 12 months and even the past 12 weeks. There's been so much growth and that mindset. And so it's been really, really good, and no turning back. I have 2 more years here at KU, but I've been getting more involved in my campus ministry on campus. And that's been something that's been a switch for me, is that, basketball is always going to be here, but at the end of the day, there's more to life. And so for me, that's, like you said, being a light. We're called to be a light. And so I'm trying to do that, but that's kind of part of my story.
Do I have to go? I don't want to go anymore. Wow, Ash, I love you. I literally love you so much. Oh, crazy. Yeah, that's hard to follow. So I kind of same thing. I played a bunch of different sports. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, about 40 minutes from downtown, and I just always from a super young age just kept going to basketball, kept wanting to be around basketball. I was really good at volleyball, so it was kind of an in between volleyball and basketball. But I decided basketball, I could hit people and be really physical, and I could just communicate and talk. And I don't know, I just felt so alive and great playing. Obviously, Chicago is shameless plug, greatest basketball city of all times. And so it was just all around all the time. I played out in Naperville for a little bit, and we were just the only girls team at this gym that had a bunch of boys teams, and it was basically a brother, one of the dads, all basically our team was all compiled of little siblings, the little sisters of some of the our brothers that played for the club team. Ended up being really good. went to state, AAUs all the time, beat up everybody. We were bigger than everybody. My dad actually used to watch JD coach because Chicago Hoops Express is a high school program. Now it has merged and they have kind of a younger feeder team. But at the time, I was just, we would all be in like similar tournaments. And my dad just like loved watching the way JD coached. He's just so interactive, so involved, teaches and just communicates super well, super clearly. And I was deathly afraid of him. I was like, no way, nope. And I was like somebody where I was like, I knew what I wanted and I said that, and I was like, absolutely not. And so I was kind of ready to phase out of the daddy ball thing, and knew in 4th grade I wanted to play college basketball. And I was like, this is my goal, had it written down, looked at it every day. Candace Parker was from Naperville, and so I had been able to watch her, Tennessee, Pat Summitt, all of that. And then my dad actually one morning woke me up super early, got me in the car, got my gym clothes, and all of a sudden I show up at JD's practice. I didn't even know what it was. And he was like, all right. And I was like, what's going on? Like, what is this? I wasn't old enough to play for him yet, so I was super confused. Literally had no idea why I was there. I practiced. That was the thing. It didn't matter like where I was, who I was with. I always worked super hard, was super I don't even know. I feel like I have no energy anymore because I left it out on the court all the time. And yeah, so met JD, and I wasn't old enough to play for him yet. So he was like, you can come practice and then you can like play for the feeder team. And I did not like the feeder team because they were like my original team's rivals all the time. And so I was like, nope, not going to play for them. Sorry. And so basically we just had this really cool arrangement. And thankfully my parents are very open and honest and truthful people. And we basically just went to another team and told them, hey, like she just needs somewhere to play for a year. And everyone was kind of knew what was going on. And it happened to be the Bolingbrookers, which had a bunch of girls go to UConn, and amazing feeder program as well. Chris Smith was great. And that was really a momentum changing season for me. I just got to really get out of my comfort zone and learn how to actually play basketball, as well as practicing with JD. And the way that man runs practices, we were, I was in 7th grade playing with, some of the best girls in the state of Illinois, all of us practicing together, all of us against each other. It was incredible. And then his goal always is to not have parents pay for college. And that's exactly what happened. So I ended up committing it to Evansville, the University of Evansville, and went there for a few years. The coaching life happened. My head coach got fired. They gave someone else the job. Wasn't an ideal place, wasn't a healthy environment, and just really didn't feel like that was somewhere that I wanted to stay. I don't think we need to get through our days. I think we get the chance to have, our lives every day, and I just didn't want to be unhappy. And so JD he was my rock all the time. So I'd call him crying, call him, all of those things, come home. I thought I was going to quit basketball. I was like, you know what? Like, I just want to go to college. Like, I loved school. And he was like, okay, so if I drive down to Evansville and look you in the eye and ask you if you are okay never playing basketball again, like, you'll tell me yes. And I was like, all right, JD, what do we do? Where can I go next? Like, that was an absolute no, because I did really truly love the game, and going Division I and seeing how many people don't love it is really sad. And I just wanted to be with people that wanted to play hard and work hard and win and have fun. And so I ended up getting contacted by a D2 in Buffalo, New York. Had never in my life been there, had a bunch of different visits kind of lined up after that. And I thought I had learned through my recruiting experience. I know exactly what to look for. Everyone knows, exactly what to look for, all the stuff. And so I was very skeptical, and Coach Banker at Damon was just, she was great, and she was straight up, and she was like, this is how it is. And she was a new coach too. Not in the sense of years. She had a very, very, very successful high school career. And then her daughter was actually going to come and be the assistant coach. Her daughter had a very similar story to me of just, was down and out, needed to get picked up, just had a rough college experience. And so I told her I wasn't going to commit. I was like, I have a few more visits. I'm going to, look at all my options, be super clear. And then I flew back to Evansville, and I had to finish up my semester and things like that. I was in a layover in Chicago and called her and was like, all right, I'm committing. And there was just really something about, I just I felt like I needed to be there. I felt wanted. I felt, just very much like this is where I want to be, things like that. Got out there, and she was my first female coach, head coach and coaching staff. And that for me was really hard. I had always had men. My mentors were all men. My great coaches, people in my lives that are super just helpful and great people. They were all men. I never had women really, besides my mom. And so for her to love me super well and super hard, she really pushed me, and she doesn't yell either. So I went from Gerald Davis, who anybody just go to a gym, you'll know what court he's on. And then went from Coach Banger, who whispers. We always used to try not to laugh because sometimes she's just so not loud. But yeah, and so went there. I unfortunately got injured really bad my junior year. The last game of before conference started, blew out my ankle. I should have just broke it, but I blew everything out and was out for a really long time. So lost my junior year, and then went into my senior year. Kind of tweaked it in over the summer, the last couple weeks going into preseason. So that wasn't cool. And then just that was really where I was basketball is something that I loved and something that I want to be involved with the rest of my life and things like that. And so I think being injured and having different responsibilities and my coach still pedal to the metal, you are our leader, you're here for this. I was Coach, no one wants to hear the injured player on the sidelines yell, run faster. I would punch her in the face, no way. And she was no, just keep going. It was not always the smoothest. I fought her on a lot of things, but until my senior year, I just wanted to be the best. I wanted my team to love each other, and that's what I would really talk about that a lot. And a lot of people they were this girl's so weird, this senior, she keeps asking us to go to lunch, and she made us breakfast, and I'm bringing things like that. But I just really tried to love my teammates and tried to explain to them that this will never be something that they get back, and that they need to enjoy every second of it. So long story short, that is just my career, and I graduated and was just super, super thankful for it. And yeah, it was great.
Well said. Well done. Well done. Both of you have experience transferring and overcoming injuries. So definitely adaptable, definitely both people that have shown they can rise back and bounce back from adversity. So those things, you don't need those in your career at all, your life. So don't worry about it. No, those are both awesome qualities. I'm sure you guys connected on that pretty quickly too. So it kind of goes to your chemistry and your natural kind of unspoken sisterhood that you have that's so easy and everybody else can see, and it's so obvious. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the places that you both work, Kansas and Rising Coaches. Just tell us one thing that makes Kansas special, if you had to say a special place, and one thing that makes Rising Coaches a special place, in any order.
I think Rising Coaches is great because it is just a environment that is uplifting. It doesn't matter, who you are, you come as you are, and they really just accept anyone and everyone. It's been super great to be a part of something that there are no steps to follow before me. I'm really kind of, laying Adam and Brandon and Andy and all of them, they're laying the groundwork, and I'm, they've given me the ability to find my place and help in all ways, and to have an opinion, and to be organized. I love organizing things. I love, you know, the operations side of things. And so it's been really cool, just like the inclusiveness and just the way that they have really just like still pushed me, even though like I've literally never met them like in person, essentially, which is like literally we talk about all the time. We're like, this is crazy. Like we literally don't know. They asked me how tall I was and I was like, yeah, I'm like 5'11". It was so funny. But yeah, it's just, there's nothing like rising coaches. And so for it to be something so new, it's been great to really be a part of that.
Awesome. So well said. Couldn't agree more.
That was really good, Erin. Good job. You're killing it. For me, I don't know if there's a specific like one word, but when I think of Kansas basketball, I think of empowerment and like the coaches empowering the players to be the best they can be on and off the court, like the best version of themselves. Like we work, you know, our 2 goals is winning a national championship and personal growth. And it's not just the players or the coaches, like the coaches are pushing the managers to be the best. And so for me, this is such a great environment because, you know, maybe I'm tired one day. Well, I've got 3 managers, John, Jack, and Jaden, that are doing everything to the best of their ability. So if I'm tired one day, they're pushing me to be the best. If they're tired one day, I'm pushing them to be the best. And so I think that I have the best job in the world right now because I get to work with people that are going to lift me up, like Erin said, that are going to empower me. And when I, you know, if I get to be a head coach one day, if I get to coach collegiately, like whatever I'm doing, I want to be a person that cares about, you know, my staff's like goals. And so Kansas does that. They know I want to be a coach. And so they've given me responsibility and they've given me this opportunity. So I think, you know, this is my dream job. You're going to ask that later, like, what's our dream job? Like, I'm living it like right now. So I don't know if that answered.
Awesome. Big time answers. I don't even know. I feel like I need to just get out of the way and let you guys talk the rest of the way. You guys have such great answers, making it easy for me. So tell us about, so rising coaches, you have, we'll say Brandon, you can say one thing about Brandon, one thing about Andy, one thing about Adam. That way we spread out to 3. And then 3 things about Coach Self that just makes, you know, both of you talked about being in pretty elite situations. Those situations work-wise don't come up every day. So what makes those leaders that you work for, what would you say make them great or make them elite?
Yeah, so Adam, I think, is just like one word. I don't even know. I feel like I wrote one down. He is super creative. That's 2 words, but he's super creative, which is great. I think in the situation of like rising coaches being so groundbreaking and being something that has never really been a thing before. And so for him to be, you know, so willing to just throw out things and these ideas and really just run with them, it's been great. Brandon, to me, he helps me so much, but he just like asks me how I am all the time. He's like, how are you doing? Like, I don't really care all of this stuff that we need done or whatever. Like all of them, they really are just like, how are you first kind of people, which is just incredible. And they actually want to know how I am, which has been awesome. And then Andy, haven't really gotten to talk with him that much, just because with like timing and things like that. And when he obviously being a full-time coach and things like that. But he always supports rising coaches or women in sports, and things like that. So he has been a good like resource like that way, just like sending us people and like being a part of the action, coming in on some of our episodes and stuff. So.
Awesome.
They're good people. Echo that. For me, I think 3 things. Like, first thing is relationships, and so that's a big thing for me, but Coach Self like really embodies that. And it's really, he talks to anybody and everybody on campus. You know, there was something that went out on Twitter a few weeks ago. A lady, she was like, nobody ever talked to me at KU. You know, I always walk down the halls, like, you know, not a lot of people said hi, but Coach Self, every time he sees me, stops and says hi, asks me how I'm doing. And so for me, that's huge too. You know, I think after a game we had lost. It wasn't a great game. You know, when you lose, it's not good. And Coach Self still was like, hey, Ash, how are you doing? And every time he asks, like, he doesn't want a fake response. Like, he wants to know how you're doing for real. And even when I was coming to KU and transitioning from player to manager, before I even said yes, he's like, are you sure you're ready for this? Like, you have your whole life to hang up, to be a coach. Do you want to hang up your shoes? So he cares about the person and he cares about our players. And another thing would be embracing your role. And that's, whether you're a walk-on, you're a scholarship player, you're a manager, you're our support staff, you're our assistant coaches, like he expects the best from everybody all the time. And I think that's what separates him. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. And I think that just the way he cares about people and the expectations, those unspoken expectations as well, like getting things done as a family. And then the third thing I would say is probably like response. And so his response to everything, like at every school I've been at, I'm thinking, okay, if I was the coach, what would I do in this situation? And, at some of the places, I might be like, hey, I'm not going to do that when I'm a coach. I might do it this way, but that's never happened with Coach Self because his response to everything is so well thought out. It's always team first, it's not about the outside people. It's about, KU men's basketball first. And so I think those are three things that he does well. He's a great leader and he cares about people. That's all I got.
I might have been frozen for a second.
Oh.
Very good answers. Very good. Very good. Very in-depth. I love it. I won't take too much time. I'll just keep going to the next question. So tell us a little bit about the staff, anybody that you work with. I know you mentioned some other managers. Tell us about them. We know the coaching staff is great, obviously, Big 12 coaches, and you talked about Coach Self. But tell us about some of the unsung heroes on the staff, and same for you, Erin.
Yeah, man. You already know I work with a great coaching staff, but my managers are unbelievable. Like I said, John Felton, Jack Lombardo, Jaden Gard. So I'm the lone girl this year on the staff. Last year, I had our co-head manager, Lexi Price, was on staff with us, but now I'm the only girl. And, man, it has been so good. Before workouts began, we were in the office a month and a half before, so it was just us four. So we're definitely, like, working well together, but it's, that family aspect, showing up every day. We have 3 pillars, and like part of it is like creating experiences. And so we're not just working together, but, we're creating experiences together and becoming close friends. And I get to work with those guys from 8:30 in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. And it's just been so good. They're like 3 brothers to me. I would recommend them for any job. They're incredible people. They have great work ethics and they just treat people well. And so that's the whole point of basketball and in any industry is to serve people well. And I work with 3 guys that serve people well every single day.
Yeah, those spots are not easy to serve people well and not get the glory or the pat on the back. Or I know you work with great coaches that probably give them some encouragement and acknowledgement along the way, but those are kind of like in their own way, the offensive lineman type of job or the 6th man. You just don't always get the same recognition. So tell us this real quick before we switch to Erin. When you say the staff, so I'm assuming that you're the head manager of your position, or how does that work?
No, so I am not the head manager. So John Felton that I mentioned is the head manager. So this is his 4th year on staff. So some of the requirements, it's your 3rd year. You have to be with the program for 3 years before you're head manager. So this is my 2nd year with the program. But my head manager, John, like I said, they all lead well, but he leads extremely well. And he gives us a ton of encouragement and really like I can count on my hands the amount of times we've messed up, but like when we mess up, it's not screaming in your face, that kind of leadership. We're embracing our failure, understanding where we went wrong, coming up with a plan of action for how we're going to improve. And so I think he does a great job of that. He's only been head manager for 3 months now, but he does a great job of, hey, we messed up, here's how we're going to improve and not mess up again, but really embracing that. And he leads well. He leads by his action, not his word.
Yeah, I love that. Embrace, understand, and make a plan. That's really good. Tell us one more thing on that. Did you guys come up with the pillars that you talked about
No.
or is that a part of the bigger program?
Yeah, so I will pull this up, but we have something in our equipment room that a manager came up with, and it's squad goals. So it's 1, don't embarrass the program, 2, be on time, 3, work ethic, 4, effort, 5, body language, 6, energy, 7, attitude, 8, be coachable, do extra, be prepared, don't be soft, passion. So those are kind of our manager pillars, but the pillars that I brought up, Coach Q on our staff, he came up with those. And so there's a culture question you have later on, so I can like go more in depth about that, but that's kind of our KU vision. But us as managers, we're roped into that. Like Coach Q said down at the beginning of the year last year, talked to us for 45 minutes on how we as managers make an impact for us to win a national championship. And I thought that was huge.
That's awesome. Yeah, very much can be underappreciated roles, and again, no limelight, kind of long hours, unappreciated. So awesome that you guys are getting so much love and have so much of a vision and plan of what you're doing. It makes sense how national championships are won. So Erin, another tough act to follow, but we know you'll do great.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So yeah, literally I think the coolest thing so far has just been, once again, like I just like am handed a lot of confidence and constant, just go with it. I think I'm a rule follower. I'm somebody that like, tell me what to do and I'll do it and go above and beyond and make it better and all of this other thing and like all this other stuff. But when it comes to something that is so new, and like Adam like really is just like kind of a one-man show, obviously has like help from Andy Brandon, like everyone else that's like founded Rising Coaches. But the biggest thing is like, how cool is it for me to work for somebody who like stepped away from the coaching profession because of his like willingness to impact and help so many other coaches, that then like that trickle down effect is just insane. And for me, it's like, that's been the biggest thing that I've never really, I've seen so many coaches affect people in like the wrong way, that, Rising Coaches is just something that like is so for building people up and kind of breaking the stigma of the coaching industry. So kind of just my job is, I just came in and it was like, this is what we want to do. And Adam was like, we have no organization. Like they had an organization, but he was being dramatic. But he's like, we have no organization. We have no systems. There's no, like he was operating at a level that I was just like, how do you sleep at night? How do you do all of these things? And stuff like that. So I basically just came in and was like, this is how I think this is going to work. And let's see. I was very apprehensive, very timid at first. Any little thing that came up, I was like, hey, how should I handle this? Like to Brandon or Adam, like, hey, what should I say back to this? And they really were just like, Erin, like, we trust you and you know what you're doing and what so just do what you think is best. And just the way that they just like have included me and really taken me in, and then just valued. I sometimes think I don't do enough. Or don't do like a good enough job, just because there isn't that like, there's no, we don't have squad goals yet. We don't have these pillars that have been created because we're building, brick by brick right now. But the biggest thing for me is just like, if you look at like, a nice wall, like bricks are all put in a perfect organized way. And that's what makes a strong wall. And my biggest thing is not just like, throwing things on there and then adding some concrete and thinking that that's going to, be a structure. And I just really like, they believe in themselves and I believe in them and they believe in me. And it's just one of those things that it's great. And so the people behind like the unsung heroes, there's so many of them. And I couldn't even tell you who they are. The biggest one I work with is Emily Drake. She's one of our interns. She just graduated this past year. And same thing, Brandon had a connection and she wants to be in events. And so basically just like they provide us with this opportunity to just keep going. Obviously sports by the world were deemed non-essential. And so for me, I was like, okay, that's my calling away. Like, awesome. Like, let me go, do something else. And it's just been such a blessing to keep my foot in the door, and then to not only keep my foot in the door, but then get like the door open for me and get invited to sit at tables and be in rooms and have conversations with people that I never in my life, you know, losing my graduate assistantship, like, you know, just moving to a city to live here and, you know, find myself for the next year or until sports are deemed, you know, safe and all of that, to just be able to have the opportunity. But yeah, Adam and Brandon, like they're just incredible. Rising Coaches has been the greatest thing ever. And it's hard for me to talk about some things because there's so much big coming. And so there's secrets. So just everyone behind the scenes doing everything that you guys know you're doing is so awesome. And it's so cool to just be a part of. But yeah, I try to just lay bricks, super organized, and, you know, do things the right way. Yeah, it's been super difficult because I feel like the customer service part of things is what I wasn't good at and what I never thought, like working in the sports industry, like customer service, like I'm working with a bunch of coaches. I'm like, okay, why can't you get this right? Like, would you expect this from your players? No. So sometimes I'm like, why are you doing this? It's also like we're providing a service and we want people to, you know, feel invited and feel loved and like don't need me yelling at them. So sometimes I have to get reeled back. So I'm like, you would expect this from your player. Like, why can't I expect it from you? So yeah, lots of unsung heroes, lots of growth and crazy things that are happening. But just the greatest support, and we are just like organized chaos for sure behind the scenes. So it's been incredible though, and just the feedback, like it's really like just the most genuine place and the genuine people that I've had the chance to work and to help.
Yeah, well said. I don't think it's organized chaos because we have you. So it may have been chaos before, but because of you, it's now organized. But yeah, the essential workers for Rising Coaches and for Kansas basketball are you two. So salute to you and all that you do. I know it's it's a thankless job sometimes, what both of you do and how you serve and how you invest and how you set other people up for success so willingly, consistently is not easy to do. So salute to you both. Love that you shared all that. And the alignment for both of you sounds like it's the right fit for you to be the best version of yourselves, which is what we're all looking for, right? A place where we can be valued, be believed in, believe in others, know that we're a part of something, but know that what we bring to the table is valuable. So before we close on both these two topics and kind of open up for some quick audience questions and then get to the second half, what's one thing that you love about the organizations you work in these three categories: operationally, creatively, and culturally? And any one of you can go. We'll go operationally first, and both of you will go. Then we'll go culturally last, and in the middle we'll go creatively. So operationally, what's one thing you love?
I think operationally for us is the communication, and I think from the coaches to the players to our management staff to the equipment staff to our administration, we all communicate at a very high level, and I think that's how we operate at such a high level, is because there is key communication with everything that we do.
For me, I think the things I love operationally about Rising Coaches is probably just the creativity, that it's like, this is the end product, this is what we want, this is what we want to give people. And so having obviously operations is all that I'm doing for them. And so for me, like, I love being organized, I love planning things, I love taking notes and having Excel sheets and signups and places to go. I'm somebody where, like, if I were to do this, like, what would hinder me? And so what do I not want to be an excuse for someone to, like, not want to sign up for something or not want to be a part of this, or just the way to make life easier. And that is Rising Coaches. It's just a place to, like, there's not, you can read books, things like that, about how people did it so many years ago, but it's just like, operationally, like, I just love the way that it kind of lays things out for a profession that, you don't go to school for coaching yet. I know it's going to happen. You can minor in it and things like that, but there is no coaching degree yet. And so it's a place that, like, we are a coaching degree. Like, we help people become better at such a such an unchartered, sometimes really scary profession.
Well said. Well said. We'll say that you answered both operationally and creatively. So we'll go next creatively to Ashton, and then we'll come back. And Ashton, then you follow with culturally, and then we'll end with you, Erin, with culturally.
I would say creatively, it's like I went earlier, empowerment. And so like by our coaches empowering us as individuals, we're getting the opportunity to kind of share our light, do like what we want to do and be the best version of ourselves. So I think creatively, like I have an idea, I tell our coaches we're running with it. You know, our players have an idea. Like say our players right now, like social injustice, say our players want to host something or, you know, have a movie night or read a book as a team, like our coaches are empowering them. And so creatively, we're all getting to, you know, be the best version of ourselves. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then for culture, I'll pull up our pillars again because it's something I have in my wallet. We have like little index cards that Coach Q made. We have it hanging up in our locker room. And so, like I said earlier, our KU vision is winning a national championship and personal growth. And so how we do that is showing up, taking ownership and experiences. And then we have like this, it's kind of like the Olympic circles. And so we have alignment. You're not going to be able to see that. I'll say it. We have alignment, culture, and leadership. And so we're going to align as a team by, you know, partnering with each other, the same beliefs, you know, no side streets. So we're going to be loyal to our teammates, loyal to our coaching staff, loyal to the other managers, and then leadership. And so huge word for us at KU is empowering. Like I said, you know, setting good examples, promoting growth, uplifting others. And something that's huge, and Coach Q says this every day, all of our coaches do. We rise when we work together and we lift each other up. So as a team collectively, that's how we're going to have growth and like, you know, excel at our goals is by lifting each other up, and then speak and listen right, serve others first, honesty, finish strong, and just a teeny bit more. So something I love about our culture, you know, when the well runs dry, we got to dig a little deeper. If someone, you know, is down in the trenches, you know, maybe has a bad day, maybe they, you know, didn't have a great game, you know, they didn't have the stats they wanted. Well, we're picking them up physically, emotionally, metaphorically, and, you know, we're going to carry them and help them out because they would do the same for us if we were down.
Absolutely. Wow. I feel like I have a year of eligibility. I might just try out for the KU men's team right quick.
Right. Right. Or you just know.
I love it.
When Ashton's a head coach, you just know you may want to go play for her.
So true. So true. Yeah. No, yeah. Culturally, I think Rising Coaches has been, they like just the experience I've had of it. I feel like sometimes we step into relationships and situations where it's like, what can you do for me? And then like they're already at a level of like established, like they're grown men where like I am, you know, finishing my master's degree, like out of college, and they are like, how can we help you? And then not only just how can they help you to just like their people, but how can we help you to anyone that needs it? That's really how I feel culturally, like at Rising Coaches. It's always like, they know that like this potentially could just be a stepping stone. Like they're the first people to be like, she's a free agent. Like we love her and we want to keep her forever and to grow this company like with her, but also like, Erin, like go figure out what you truly love. Like go get experience in things that you know, I'm not going to get a coaching job anytime soon. It's just the climate of it. It's what's going on right now. So it's like, how can I now apply things? How can we get you connected with people? How can we empower you to have conversations with people that are in the positions that you potentially might want to be in? And so it's like, you know, they're always just doing that, not only for me, but everyone around them. They don't necessarily see the benefit from themselves like initially, which I feel like a lot of people really do. It's like, well, how can you help me, you know, or what can you do for me first, which has just been really great. And then another part of it is just finally empowering coaches during a time like this where there's been centuries of injustice. There's been, these social issues that before a lot of people can see them and say, oh, it doesn't affect me. And they're in a position to say, but it does. It's affecting people that, you need, as in your players or people you need or in love around you. Like, it might not be affecting you, but they have the ability to create this platform for people to share their experiences and then challenge people to, like, how are you, stepping up to the challenge of, having an opinion on these things, having, making decisions, not just, letting things go by, which I think as white men is incredible, because I think we need allies everywhere, especially in that demographic. That's the right word, but yeah. So
Yeah, well said.
it's
Well
been
said.
great.
I think the part for both of you, and I think Erin, maybe even more so for you because you're not in school and you're in this transition phase and you're helping build and create something really, really powerful, not only with women in sports, but also with rising coaches. But we talk about this as coaches all the time to our players, and not only with our players, but as coaches, not looking for the next job, but just being great where your feet are. And I think that's something that if I've ever seen someone embody that and walk in that, it's definitely working alongside. I've seen the Coach Davis side of you a couple of times in some texts, and I'm like, man, I don't want to ever get that response again. So I'm like on my game early. I might have become the second most organized person because I don't want to get the Coach Davis in you to come out. So I've definitely learned how to be on my P's and Q's. You've done a great job, and absolutely love that part of the story. Well, let's do this. Let's open up for 3 or 4 questions from the room before we get going and go to the second half. And we'll start with Jacob.
All right, I have 2 questions. The first one, Erin, Ashton, you specifically, how have you made the time for church events and spiritual events in the busy life of a manager lifestyle initially?
Yeah, I think it's all about like where you set your priorities. So I think when I first came on campus last year, I was working 15 hours a day, unofficially, just working a lot of hours a day. And I was still, attending a campus ministry meeting like every Tuesday, but it wasn't like I was being intentional, but it was like, hey, I'm going to this, but what am I doing outside of my time? So really like quarantine, like my faith grew exponentially. And like really like it was about, hey, like basketball is important and being a manager is extremely important, but being a disciple of Jesus and making disciples of Jesus is more important. And so, every day I go to work at 8:30, I get off, but like, I get into work at 8:30 and, I do all my tasks so I can take off lunch. And yesterday I went up on campus, up on the hill and, did some campus outreach for 30 minutes. And, I could have ate lunch then, but, that's where I wanted to spend my time. And it's just, I really think it's the pace of your life. And like, for a while I was in a hurry and always rushing, but like now I'm like, hey, you don't have to be in a hurry. You don't have to fill up your plate. We all have 24 hours in the day. So where are you spending your time? And for me, it's important that I spend my time with those people in the campus ministry and, also advancing the kingdom. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's just been really big for me. And basketball is a bridge to do that. It's how I act at work. It's how I, talk to people I work with, other coaches in the conference. Like being a light isn't just about your words and like going to a meeting or going to church, but it's about what are you doing outside of those events as well.
Do I have to answer that?
I think your question is different, but big time answer, which is again part of the reason why you're shining so much light and making so much impact that you have as a Zoom queen. We appreciate that your true spirit and your heart. That's awesome. Jacob, what was your second question before we change?
Yes, just what are some books you guys have been reading the last few weeks, last few months? It's always a fun question. I like to get new books added to my list.
Now they said they're not going to answer if you're not going to read it. You can't just be getting books just so you can just write it down and not actually read it. There's going to be a quiz.
I'll read them. Yes.
The top of my list right now is Julie's book. So plugged it earlier. Definitely go check it out. Her new Ball of Psych book. The Art of Embracing Adversity. I just saw her Saturday and made sure to order it. But what is the other book? Why can't I think of? I took the paper cover off, so I don't see the title. Oh, it's right here. So What's So Amazing About Grace? I'm almost done with it. It's absolutely incredible. I think Grace is, it's by Philip Yancey. Grace is something that's very confusing. I kind of like similar to Ashton, I came into my faith later in life, and I say it on my own, but not really on my own, but it just like, I wasn't, I didn't grow up going to church and knowing, faith and things like that. And so I think that's the hardest to understand grace from that angle. So What's So Amazing About Grace has just been something I get tired when I read, so I do it at night, and I make sure I like don't watch TV and things like that. So it's been a good one.
Thank you.
A couple books I've been reading lately, Walk On by Alan Williams. So I've already read that, but I always read it because it's a really, really good one about a guy who was a walk-on at Wake Forest and just kind of the struggles he went through. I wasn't a walk-on, but I definitely went through a lot of adversity as a player my first 2 seasons. And so it really like connected with me on a deeper level. And then another one is Raise Your Game by Alan Stein. I love that one. It gives you a lot of different perspectives. Like as people in the industry, elite mindset, mental health, you are the thoughts, like your thoughts you become. And so that really was a good one about like strategically how you can be the best version of yourself, like we talked about. And then obviously Julie's book is on my list. I'm ordering it 100%. Another one I just ordered from Amazon, White Fragility. And so I'm really, I want to get into that one because that is something that is huge. I need to be more educated, and so how I use my platform is really big on that, so I'm really excited for that one. And that's what I got for you.
Great questions, great answers. Definitely some awesome books for us to look into, and thanks for the plug for your former guest. We'll go ladies first, Justin. I'm gonna come to you next. We'll go Coach Tandy, and congratulations. Round of applause for the room. Coach Tandy has some good news. I'll let her share it, but good news.
Thank you. I won't share it just yet, but I will share it very, 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 very soon. But thank you. A lot of people do know that something has happened. We'll say what later. But let me just start by saying this. I think that it's so important that you have these 2 young stars on, because as Erin mentioned, it is so important that young women especially have allies that are men. And so with Rising Coaches and Coach Burden, what you guys are doing, giving them this platform is huge. There should be 100 people on here because these are the ADs. These are the SWAs that are going to be in hiring some of the people who are in Rising Coaches in other places. These young women, their journeys have been marked by so much adversity and perseverance through adversity, which we all know is preparation for something great in their path. I have been able to have a small window to Erin's journey. And I'm just telling you, when you see somebody get their dream scholarship and have tons of adversity that she had to endure, and then transfer to her dream place, and then season-ending injury, graduate, be a part of different programs, but not really have a footing, trying to keep her faith going. This is a tough business. This business is tough. And so I'm just so proud of the young women that are coming up after us, because I know that there are young women who need an Ashton and an Erin in their coaching rooms. I love that Ashton is with the men's side, but I know also that there are young women who will need you as they go through their journey. So I'm so proud of the both of you. I can't say it enough. I've been watching you guys, and I'm just very proud of the future of our game. Here's my question for both of you. Both of you are very spiritually grounded, and I'm asking this personally because I want to learn from you. How have you in this business been challenged spiritually, if you will share, and what did you do to get through those moments where who you are as a faith-filled person has been challenged? How did you get through that?
For me, obviously, Coach Tandy, like you came in at the perfect time for me at Evansville. It was not, I wasn't a great person. I wasn't being treated great. And I was like a direct reflection of that. And I think from there, that's when I knew that I needed to fight for myself and to understand myself and who God created me to be much better. But I think the biggest thing is I'm like a control person. I love being organized and controlling things and having control. And I think that is somewhat of like a scary situation and something that a lot of coaches, like that's one of their main, like they control the situation and they control their teams and they control attitudes and things like that. For me to be able to know how to react and to know that what's going to be the first thing out of my mouth or in a hard situation is going to be, Lord first, and direct reflection of, my relationship with Jesus and things like that is just like fighting for the moments to just be in his presence, and to sit there and things like that. But I think the one word that just keeps flashing in my head is to be brave. I feel like I am fear driven a lot. I think by my experience, I've seen like just all of the, kind of worst case scenarios. And so for me, being brave and stepping out and just really not knowing what's going to happen, but being brave in who I am and being brave and knowing that I'm a child of God first, and understanding that other people might not know people, at one point I had no idea. I was like grown and had no idea. And so I think just meeting people where they are and being brave to have conversations and to not necessarily, give them a hug, but to know that like their Lord and Savior is hugging them and holding them tight and things like that. So definitely just being brave and not succumbing to my environment. I don't know if that's the right word, but just not, not just, being who I am, like being the light, like being, the time that I spend with Jesus, letting that, translate directly into my day.
Mic drop. Killed it. Man,
that was a big time mic drop right there. That was like a Mamba out.
Coach Tandy was a part of all of that though. She was my light when I needed it. And I just know how important that was during that time. I didn't know how important it was during that time, but like looking back, I was like so cringy. I was like, oh my gosh, what? And she was my light. And so I know somebody needs a light all the time. And I was like, my darkness is over for now. So let me be the light, because it was really important. I definitely was at a crossroads in my life of like being a really, really, really good person or being a really, really terrible person. So yes.
So shout out to Coach Tandy for helping put her over.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Do I have to follow up? Okay. I do. Okay. For me, I think that like obviously I got baptized back in December, and I went through a lot of adversity before I got to KU, but that adversity didn't stop when I got to KU. It was still evident in my life. And so for me, vulnerability was huge, and that transformed and kind of really like was on the fast track to growth was from vulnerability. And I think, before I came to KU, I would go to church sometimes, Sunday and on Wednesday, but like when I found out at KU that like the people that were the church, the body cared more about you than just showing up for these events and just showing up to church. Like, no, they want to know you're dark, like Erin said. And I think something I learned, if you think it needs to be in the dark, it definitely needs to be in the light. And like, that's where you grow. And so for me, that has been huge. And I really think like when I gave my life to Christ back in December, like my bad didn't stop, but now I get to walk with him, and he's, I'm giving it up to him daily. It says take up your cross daily. And so that's what I'm doing. And, we had a guest on a few weeks ago, Lauren Johnson, and she said, prayer is my first response and not my last resort. And let me tell you, my life has changed so much when I started praying more, like good or bad. than trying to do it on my own, because you cannot do it on your own. It's chaotic. It's stressful. You know, you get anxious, you know, depression, like everything bad, like when you try to do it on your own. And so for me, like, I got out of that adversity, and I got out of that, you know, that spot by my community and by being vulnerable and like sharing stuff that you really don't want to share. You want to keep it in, but once you, it's like chains break, literally like a visual of chains breaking, like that happens. And so for me, that was really big. And so I think it's just like embracing failure too, and like understanding like, hey, we're all human, we're all broken, but we've got a savior that's perfect, and he's already done it for us. Like, we just have to give up our cross to him. Like, his grace and his love is like unmatchable, and it's never ending. And so just remembering that and knowing that has been really good for me.
Yeah, powerful question, even better answers. If you didn't know why before, I just had to have these young ladies as the first women on our show. Now you know. I've said this to both of them. I appreciate it so much. So I have 2 daughters. My wife is also a coach, but my daughters are already athletes because of their mom, not because of their dad. Their mom was a 2-sport athlete at Colgate and has records in both, and will be in the Hall of Fame this year, next year, or sometime soon. So she won a Little League World Series in 1997. She has it, you know. And so my daughters and my wife is one of those people similar to you ladies as a world changer, and just you know, I'm gonna figure out how to break barriers. She's a minority. She's mixed with Costa Rican and white, so she's just like, I'm gonna break barriers. I'm gonna make a way even when there's no way. And I see that in my daughters, but they're gonna need people outside of their mom to look up to. So I've always, you know, I think the light that you both shine is so obvious. You never even have to say it, but now it's cool to hear more of the story for everybody. But I think even more so, just kind of like what Coach Tandy said, you're empowering so many women behind you, whether big or small, or coaches that are older than you and may have accomplished certain things, and even young people. I know you probably don't think of it that way, but love to hear the inside story. So I think Justin had a question, and then we'll get back to a few more questions about women in sports, and have a few more questions from the audience, and then let everybody go back to whatever they have going on in their lives.
Yeah, so I think, Brian, you kind of alluded to it earlier. Like, a lot of coaches don't do a great job at keeping their feet where they are, but it seems like you guys do a great job at keeping your feet at where you are and in your current roles and positions. But I kind of wanted to ask, like, throughout quarantine, I'm sure you guys have learned a lot, and you're thinking of like what you want to kind of embed into your guys' roles and positions next when we get back to having a season, or whenever there is a season. But really want to ask, what do you think is going to be most challenging for you as you transition into an official coaching role? Because the coaching role, a lot of the responsibilities you guys have already kind of seen throughout the positions you guys have held, but what do you think is going to be most challenging to you that either you want to work on, or that you think that will be kind of presented to you when you transition into the next role that you guys are hoping to get that next position out of this?
Great question, Justin. Great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, have you ever been on a women in sports Zoom?
I haven't, and that's something I know I need to do. So that's kind of why I wanted to hear what you guys have to say, because you guys have come from different backgrounds and experiences. And I was a manager kind of like Ashton, but this comes from just different experiences that I wish I had known, you know, some of the things I know now in terms of how to navigate the profession. So kind of wanted to hear what your guys' perspective is at this moment in time, so that you're not like me and, you know, in 5 years thinking like, man, this guy's asking me this question 5 years when I should have probably asked it 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Ash, you got this?
Yeah, so basically, I just want to make sure I'm going to answer this correctly, and I might not still, but like what I think I need to work on the most before I get like a GA or a coaching spot.
Not even necessarily a GA spot, but what do you think is going to be most challenging to you in the position that you're going to aspire to be next? So it doesn't necessarily have to be GA, but you could be an assistant, you could be a head coach, whatever it is that you think is going to be most challenging to you that you wish to work on now, or that you might be presented later that you might not get the experience until you're actually in that position itself?
I think this is an easy answer, so I hope, this helps. But I think for me that obviously basketball, you have to know X's and O's. So real concrete coaching experience is what I'm going to lack before that first coaching spot. And so that's, maybe working camps or, watching film, being very intentional in practice and, what kind of drills are we running? How are we doing all of that? That's something that like I really focus on now because I'm not on the court physically coaching, but I'm trying to be a sponge and soak it all up because before I'm a coach, I'm not going to get that experience. So, people have recommended to me like trying to work with AAU teams, working camps, getting a chance to teach younger kids before, you teach at the college level is what I aspire to do, is be a college coach. So I think that's probably what I'm going to lack most. And so that's what I'm trying to really get some experience in before I'm in that position.
Yes. So like being a sponge, like what Ashton said, I literally was going to say that. I think for me, I have a lot of different aspirations of like, I would love to coach, but I know that I am called to be kind of more in a support staff role. So something also really cool about Rising Coaches and just like my relationship with Brandon and Adam is they have really pushed me to explore and kind of like putting a name to my next position. So I finally can say like I want to be a director of basketball operations, any type of operations really. I worked for a football team in college at the University at Buffalo, absolutely incredible. Still talk to my boss today. So any sort of like team operations, I think that's kind of difficult because like to be in that situation, you're like planning hotels and booking tickets and, really just like whatever your head coach wants, like you are making that happen. And in all of the things off the court, you're, sometimes, managing the managers or hiring managers or things like that. And so something that I've been doing right now to prepare for that, as well as like me potentially wanting to be an athletic director is like just talking with them. So I have a few director of basketball operations at Division I schools. And basically I meet with them and I have a list of things that we go through because I think one thing that has been obviously unfortunate with Corona and people not being able to do their jobs, but they love talking about their jobs because they miss them a lot. And so that's what I have been doing. I've been seeking out people that love their jobs, do a great job in their job, and then want to talk about it and help other people. It's been really cool. The director of operations at the University of Minnesota, Melissa Maines, she was like a trailblazer. There was no director of operations position when she first, like when she started. She basically was, and she's only been at Power 5 schools. So for me, it's like, all right, they're obviously like the best of the best. And how do you do things? How do you book hotels? How do you communicate with your coach? How do you hire managers? How do you even, get managers to come interview? What do you do about, what do you do during practice? Does your coach, want you on the court? Are you not on the court? Are you, just a lot of different things. As well, on top of that, I have basically like sought out 2 director of basketball operations that have really like fought and empowered themselves to have an assistant athletic director title. And so they are in all of the meetings. They are at the table. They are where, they're people like me where I was like, okay, I love the culture of basketball. I love being a part of the team, like all of it. But also like being on the outside is like really hard because it's like, you just don't have that. And that's something I love. But for me to be allowing myself to have the best of both worlds and to tell people like, this is what I want to do. And so kind of seeking out those people that have done it before me and just having conversations with them. Like, what's it like getting organized? What's it like having, meetings for basketball and serving your head coach super well as serving your athletic director, 2 very, very important people, as well as like you influence a lot of different people. So it's hard to say, necessarily like me getting a position what I would do, but that's what I'm doing now, is just talking to people about their jobs and learning even how they've grown, what they've learned, as well as like people from different, so like Melissa Main's from the University of Minnesota, obviously in the Big Ten, have a lot of resources, have travel agents, and then talking to Megan Williams, who's the DOBO at UNC, who was at Princeton, and they didn't have, you know, the things that she now has at UNC. So she was doing all of the camps, she was doing those things, and just having those conversations and just asking like simple things of just like, how do you do your job, and how do you do your job well, and how do you, you know, still do your job and then look future forward of, you know, being in administration and making that jump eventually one day. So sorry, long story, but
Go
No,
Erin.
it was great because I really appreciate that, and thinking about, you know, kind of where I was in your guys' life, like shortly after school or right about to graduate, you know, kind of knowing I wish I knew the things then that I know now. So I'm like, I wonder how do you guys feel in terms of navigating that process? And so just kind of picking your brains in terms of that, and, you know, hearing that same old saying, like 90% of coaching isn't coaching. So I'm like, what do they view as most challenging, or what do they think is going to be most challenging? So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great
Great
question.
question.
I think it's so cool of Justin to come on along with anyone else that's been on and has not actually been on women's sports. I think that's a cool part about this whole thing, for you to stay engaged and have questions like that. I think that just shows, again, just there's more allies out there than we know sometimes. So you kind of touched on, both of you, different aspects of women in sports. So we'll just talk specifically about that Zoom that you guys are the hosts of. In 1 minute, if you had to say, what's the hosting experience been like for both of you? And then I'll follow that question and say, what's been your favorite part about it so far? Other than working with each other, you can't say that. So
can it be one word?
Yeah,
I don't need a minute. I want one word.
one word.
Terrifying. Literally terrifying. The scariest thing I've ever. Ashton was like, all right, here we go. And I was like, huh? Like, I was like in the back planning everything. Like, I was like, had the spreadsheets, and I had like the questions and the information.
When it comes time to hosting, you can't ask questions from us. You can't hold up the spreadsheet and say, here's your question.
Yes, you can. I mean, yes, I did come to find that out, but that I was terrified. I still am. Every episode, I'm like, well, here we go again.
I think it's crazy.
yeah.
I think it's crazy because I know sometimes like we're super prepared, and then sometimes we're like, man, we haven't talked all week. There's weeks where we go where we don't talk before like 30 minutes before the show. Like, life happens, and that's just how it goes, but somehow it always falls into place. Like, you know, I think sometimes you can over prepare and like stress yourself out, but, you know, we're decently prepared always. And I think it's that chemistry you brought up. Like, you know, maybe we have 10 questions. We always have like 15 questions that are written out, but really our navigation of the conversation is our guest responses. And so our questions change every single time. We're like, oh, we're going to talk about this. Nope, sorry. Like, we're talking about something else, and it just flows so well. And I think that's been huge. Us like learning how to decipher between, hey, like, let's go here because they said this, and like transitioning. And I think that's an area that we've grown in a lot.
Yeah, so I think I can say this from the first time I watched, and we've all been on a lot of Zooms. So me hosting Zooms has given me a feel too. Before I got to Rising Coaches, I was doing something similar to what you ladies are with a former colleague of mine, and that's kind of how it led me here. But we had a natural chemistry because we had worked together, so it was different, and we were close. Where you ladies just kind of met and figuring it out. But I thought that's the part that stood out to me so much, is that you guys had such a natural feel, not only for the guests and the questions, but each other. And you made the guests feel so comfortable, and it was such an organic vibe that's natural and makes everybody feel accepted, and it's fun, but it's also you guys do such a great job. And I think, to your credit, you probably prepare so much beforehand, as far as, you know, knowing who the guests are, having conversations, having your group chats of talking to them, that some of it just kind of comes naturally just based on that interaction. And then when you get on, it's like a player in practice. Like, coach, I don't need all these plays. We got this. We got it. Get out my way, coach. So you guys do a great job with that. So second question is, what's been the funnest part so far or most rewarding?
I think for me is like our guests don't know each other like a lot. Like a lot of them might know of each other or have, past or things like that, might not even like be coaches, all of these different things. But obviously, like one thing too, to kind of like rewind and go back, the reason why Ashton and I are able to like have great shows and go into them is because like we have our mission statement is to like advance the narrative like for women in sports. And I think for me, that's like the one thing that always centers me, where I was like, this conversation can go, any which way. But like, that's the one thing that like, this is our purpose right now doing it. It could have been like the worst or best show, but like, that's our purpose, to advance this narrative and to give women that have never had the opportunity, to talk about their journeys or to even know that their journeys are special and incredible, and that other people and other young women like want to follow in their footsteps and might not even know it. Because I think, especially in this profession, like a lot of people just kind of fall into places, especially for women, like it's not, as defined as what it has been, especially like kind of in like the, not necessarily like coaching aspects of it. But then, sorry, to go back to your second question that you asked, I think the greatest thing for me is like seeing the interactions between like the different guests, like how that's building relationships as well. Like we're just like, there's no competition. There's like all just empowerment. So it's like our pyramid is just getting like bigger and bigger and wider and wider. And these women are, now having allies of like our own, that's the biggest thing. I think people think that, women tear down each other worse than what, society already does for us. And so to then have, these women like following each other on Twitter. So it's just like, we're just kind of facilitating something that we want to serve our guests as, and then obviously our viewers. So that's the biggest thing, is just like my focus is always our guests. And it's just so cool to like watch them vibe and bounce off each other, and just getting to sit back and watch that truly has been super, super cool.
And I think the only thing I would add, because Erin, you killed that, would be that I feel, and I think Erin feels this way too, we have created a safe space for conversations to take place about things that are more important than basketball. And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, there's a lot more things that are more important than basketball. And I think through our passion of hoops and, sports and women in sports, we've had the ability to like hold deep conversations that are like, make you uncomfortable. And like, that's the point, is to make you uncomfortable and to think hard. And I think it's been so rewarding to just hear how guests talk about their purpose and their why and their identity, because for so long for me, like I found my identity through basketball, and like, that's not going to get you very far. And so I think we've just been able to really like pour into others and like take the spotlight off of us and like give it to people that need it, and like let people hear their story and let people hear their perspective. And so I think that's the most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah, I love what you guys are doing. So tell us a little bit about, I think your Zooms are, I don't want to say the only one like it, but the only one I know of like it. And so it's also very unique in how it's not just coaches coming on talking about X's and O's. Like you said, you get into deeper topics. You've had kind of different themes of how you've gone about having ties between different guests. You've had all kinds of, like you said, it makes sense now what you said about your mission about advancing the narrative. So tell us a little bit about, for those that haven't been on, even for those that have, just some of the topics that you guys have done, or give us a few examples. I know you had a social justice roundtable, which was very powerful for what I heard. I have not got a chance to watch that one yet. I know you had a show specifically on life when you get fired. and how you handle that. I know Coach Tandy had some powerful quotes that went viral, more or less. Her and Coach Shimmy Gray had some great, powerful comments. And I know you've had some things around faith. I know you've had some different things you've had. So just tell the viewers, tell everyone a little bit more about how you come up with your topics, different topics you've had, and kind of what's your intent, other than just the narrative part, how you come about the topics that you have.
I think personally, Ashton, do you want to go?
You can go if you have
Okay.
something I'll add.
Yeah, I think personally it's just been like, for me, it's like, what do I want to know? It's honestly selfish. Like this show is so selfish for us. Like it's selfish for me. I'm like, what do I want to learn? What do, or what maybe like are some things where, I've experienced or see as roadblocks, and how do I want to learn to navigate them? And how can, people that have like gone before us, like that I see doing it, like, let's just ask them those things. Like, let's just talk about, how to handle success and how to, be a good person or be where you are or handle getting fired. And so truthfully for me, it's just like, what do I, foresee in any situation, in any, coaching or not, just hard things that might happen, and how to, kind of, like suit up and armor myself to, really step out into this profession and handle everything that's going to come at me, and be able to do it, and look great. So.
And before Ashton gets hers, the selfish part of it fits though, because of where you are in your career. There's a lot of people having the same questions. So it's selfish, but yet unselfish, because I think you're aware enough to know there's a lot of people that are having the same questions you're having, wondering about the same answers, wanting to learn from other coaches. And, again, I think the part I love about it is it's just such a real Zoom. We all have been on plenty of Zooms, basketball or not, that there's a lot of stuff that's being said that's sounds good, makes people look good. You kind of touched on it earlier, and both of you have talked about basically transformative leadership versus transactional. We know this business is full of transactional things that go down, leadership, so on and so forth, and that's what makes Rising Coaches such a great place, and what you guys are doing so powerful. So just to put a spin on what you said, selfish, sure, but also thinking of those that are just like you in this industry that are trying to find their way. Ash, did you have something you wanted to add? I didn't want to jump in. Sorry.
I think Erin answered it perfectly. I think it is selfishly, but I think we both like strategically, bring up topics that some people might not necessarily want to discuss, but maybe they're too scared to ask. And so we kind of have to step out in faith and like be bold and ask questions that some people aren't going to. Like, when you're in class, are you going to sit in the front row and ask questions? And, you might think it's a dumb question, but you're going to ask. And like you said, more than likely someone else wants to know the answer to it too, but it's like too afraid to ask. And so I think a lot of it has been courage and being bold, and like, it's uncomfortable conversations sometimes, but we've had a lot of fun ones too. And at the end of the day, like my favorite quote, I'm going to mess it up, but it's like, wherever you go, in every place, like whatever person you meet, like add value and be a light to them. And so like, that's what we're trying to do, is add value. And so we're kind of off the beaten path. Nobody wants to talk about getting fired. Well, we did. Some people are timid to talk about their faith. Well, we did. Some people are nervous to talk about race and social justice problems. Well, we did, because we need to talk about these things. And so I think that we've just tried to not be like everybody else, because our normal before quarantine, that wasn't working for us. And so we're getting used to different and trying to be different and, make that change that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I love your guest said it when she introduced you about you being fearless and just going for it. And that's really, the perfect yin to yang. It's like the fearlessness with the strategy and the practical, yet still fearless, but just fearless and practical and strategy. So love that combination. So speaking of the social justice, as two, I think under 25, if I'm allowed to say that, young white females, what is it like to step into that space to decide that you want to be a part of that conversation? Because that's not an easy conversation for even men that are older, women that are older, black, white, doesn't matter. It's an uncomfortable conversation. And I love this younger generation period because they are attacking this entire movement with, their own desires and determination and fight. So I'm just curious I don't want to assume, I'm just curious what made you guys want to do it and what has it been like for you guys so far jumping out there to have a social justice conversation?
So Ashton and I are we are telepathic, and it's really weird. We text each other like the same exact ideas, the same exact times. It was something that I feel like we had talked about it before, of like, I really want to talk about, race and this and that. And so then everything was really put into the public eye, and it was something that I've been super passionate about it my whole life. I grew up obviously playing for a team in the city. My teammates, my sisters, like I was always like truthfully only like the white person around. And for the longest time, I just never really, I don't know. I just didn't understand when, I left that environment, that the women and the teammates and the sisters that I loved so much, people had never had experience being around people of color. They had never, they had these opinions out of not having experience with people of color. And it was just one of those things where it was like, these were like these girls that I loved. And, like Gerald Davis, like if I didn't have a dad, like he would walk me down the aisle. And so it was these things for me that I was somewhat blind to because I was comfortable with them and being around them, and I was loved by them and they loved me. My family loved them. We all took care of each other. And so I think I actually had to like go to a master, like I'm getting my master's degree in sports studies. So we literally study every aspect of sports. And I finally, like in a master's graduate level course, was able to put words to the way that I had felt and the way that I had wanted to, like I had noticed these things, but was never able to like put into words to be able to combat it, if that makes sense. And so finally I was in this class where I was like literally like knowledge is power. And so I was like, wait, no, like there is literally like so much proof and so much like need for, the use of sports like was a direct correlation of the rest of the world. So like we finally started like letting Black people into athletics, and then all of a sudden it turned into like that was what people saw them as. And now like sports are used to step out and to speak about things, and still not necessarily having that freedom because other people's experiences were so different. And so I felt like for the first time I was knowledgeable enough and confident in that knowledge and confident enough in my experience to be like, wait, like this is super wrong. And I feel super comfortable and confident to talk about it because of like, it needs to happen. And even like, I had like my basketball friends and I had like my school friends, and even just that, like of having those conversations, like with my really close friends, and just being the bridge essentially, one that I never realized I was my whole life, and had the ability to experience, but then now just like having the confidence to go out and like share that, and then stepping out and being brave and bringing women that I loved and had experience with as well, to talk about it on our show. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Well said. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm. That was good, Erin. Good job. I think what I would add is that it was really important to me because I haven't gone through what my Black teammates and my Black coaches and my Black coworkers and just anybody around me, like I haven't gone through that kind of injustice, and I haven't gone, like, it just hasn't happened, and I'm never going to fully understand. But for me, like the biggest thing was like using my privilege and my platform to like allow the people that have been going through this to like speak up and share their testimonies and share their stories and share their experiences, because like they haven't been heard for a long, long, long time. And so for me, that was super important. And I think that it's about having those hard conversations and empowering other people to speak up and educating yourself, like books, movies, podcasts, you know, like holding a conversation with someone and, you know, understanding that like, hey, it's time for me to listen and not speak. And so that was really big. And like Erin, it was hard. It's been hard on me, but it's like, if you don't know this is happening, you're blind. And so I grew up in places, like my parents always taught me, like, that's not okay. But the biggest thing, like in all of this, is that people don't care about what they don't go through. And so it's like, hey, like we have to care. Like we don't go through it, but we have to care. And we have to use our platform to like speak up and be an advocate and be an ally, because it hasn't just been happening the last 4 months. It's been happening the last 400 years. And so that has been something that's huge to me. And it was like a no-brainer to have a conversation and have 8 very powerful women come on and talk about it, because it's those back to those uncomfortable conversations and being vulnerable and, you know, advocating for things that you don't go through. And so that was really big. And like, just something else is like, Jesus has been huge through this too. You know, I have talked about my faith, but like when you read the Bible, like I was reading through John today, like he talks to anyone and everyone. Like he doesn't care if you're a king, a queen, or a peasant, or, you know, I was reading John chapter 4, like when he talks to the woman that, you know, was very sinful, and he's like, look, I know what you've done and I still love you. And it's like, man, like Jesus is the prime example of how we should treat people. He got it right. We haven't yet. And so we've got to keep working so that we can get it right. And so that's what I would add to that as well.
I think we need to get like a whole Zoom series where you guys just talk and share. And this is big time. This is big time. Appreciate it so much. So we'll give a couple more questions on women's sports, open it for the room, and then let everybody get back to their life. So if you had to say a vision for women in sports, obviously you guys have dominated the pandemic and done such a great job of, you know, not only just empowering people that come on and listen, but empowering your guests to share their story. So salute so much of that. So what's the bigger vision of where does women in sports go post-pandemic? And then I also say, if you had to say, what's your why to why, not so much just women in sports, but what's your why and what you do? And then lastly, anything else that you'd like people to know about women in sports, add that. So I know that's a 3-part question. I'm gonna end with that one and then we'll open it up.
Go ahead, Ash.
You know, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know, like, I want to keep working with Erin and I want to keep making an impact. But like the past month, like in transitioning back to a full-time college student and like a student manager, Erin has been my go-to. Like she's hosted 2 shows without me. You know, she's been doing a lot of the grunt work. And so like in preparing for the future, like we've decided we're going to go twice a month. And so really like we'd love to go 4 times a week, but we really want to be intentional and like pour into those 2 times a month. And so something that we're doing this week in honor of Kobe Bryant is doing like a women's basketball allies panel. And so that's huge for both of us because we've been coached by men before. We work with men. And so we're really excited for that. And I think that's like just a small glimpse into the future of women in sports. And, you know, as Zooms begin to die down and, you know, we all hopefully start going back to work and, you know, getting to do what we love, like women in sports is more than just a Zoom session. It's like the relationships we've built. It's the people we've met, the platform we've created. So we've got some really good ideas coming up, but, you know, we're just trying to execute what we're doing right now and then, you know, working our way up. But I think that's kind of the future if you want to add anything to that, Erin.
Yeah, no, I think what she said of just like, we don't just want an episode thrown together, just because, you know, that's just like the expectation. I think that, you know, we want it to be super intentional. We want to be able to, you know, give our full effort into it. So definitely, yeah, we're super excited. And then eventually, our podcast is launching soon, so bear with us, but it will then be a podcast. So that way, you know, it won't necessarily like, it'll be like, you know, Spotify podcast, Apple, like all of that. So it won't necessarily like need to be a Zoom show eventually, but yeah, it's definitely, you know, the endurance to the race. I don't see us being hitting the finish line anytime soon. So
full pressure on the gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
What was the second part? Your why?
Yeah, I was about to say, I need to, what are the other questions?
Is it
The
our
last two were just, we'll end with the why. We'll use that last. Before you get to your why, what's one last thing you'd like people to know about women in sports that maybe we haven't covered, or maybe you just want to share, or maybe you just want to say?
I think we've covered a lot of it, but if you haven't tuned in and you're thinking about tuning in, like, do it. I think that we have, not just Erin and I, but everybody that's tuned in and the people we've had, we've really created a community and a safe space to, you know, have creative ideas and share your story and insight. And even our viewers, like, we allow them to like unmute themselves and ask questions like you do, Brian. And like, I think that in itself is empowering because we're giving a chance to let people kind of step out of their comfort zone. So I think it's a community, and I would just, you know, not self-promoting, but I just think that we've created something really good. And like Erin said, like, we don't plan on it ending anytime soon.
Yeah, and then to add to that, it's not like a He-Man's hater club. We don't like men. I think that is the biggest thing too. Is it's a place for men and like men coaches that are coaching women. It's a place for all sorts of coaches. Obviously, like, we deal with, like, we talk about being like females in this industry, but a lot of them are coaches and how, you know, they handle their teams, how they handle adversity. And I think, like, what not a better place for like a male coach that is coaching women to step into and just learn more, have education to understand, you know, how the female brain works. We're also not all the same. Like, you have so many different personalities, but like, it is very different, where like, I do truly think that, you know, women are more like, we think about, like, if you ask like a team of like female basketball players, like, you know, maybe a couple of them will say that they want to go play professionally, where like a male team, every single person will say that they're going to the NBA, which is incredible. But also, it's just like, you're working with different types of people, and the people that, like, you know, I cared about going to class, you know what I mean? And I was pressured by some coaches to not care, to take the same classes as your teammates so that they could help you or cheat, or they, you know, have the answers and things like that, where, you know, some, you know, that it's just that there's differences. And I think for a male coach to ignore that and to be able to think that they can coach like boys basketball and girls basketball the same is like, it's not, you know, you have to love people differently, and people need love differently. And so I think it's just important. Like, I just wish more guy coaches were on there, because once again, like Ashton and I, like, we have those experiences of like, we were only coached by men, you know, and then it was like that one female coach for me that was like, wait, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, this makes a lot of sense. Like, she knows how to, you know, navigate those things. And I think great male coaches do that. And so once again, to plug our next episode, we're finally having men on our show, because we do really care about them. And like, we've been empowered by men, but also like, I needed to see somebody that looked like me be in that role and to look up to, because that just was like, you know, that was the final, like, okay, yeah, I can do it. Like, yes, I am empowered, but can I do it? And so I think that's just the biggest thing, is just like, I wish more like male coaches that coached women like came on and, you know, just learned something or asked questions, or they felt that it was a safe space, because I think that they are just at such an awesome position to empower women, because a lot of girls don't necessarily see men as great people either, just with experience and things like that. So
Yeah, another mic drop. Yep. We got to get one of those instead of just the clapping hands and the thumbs up. You got to get like a mic drop.
you have to get like a like those little buttons.
I'll get a gift or something. That'd be perfect. Very well said. My brother, I think I may have mentioned this to you before, Erin. He coaches Division II. He's a women's head coach. He used to be a men's coach. Now he coaches women. They've had enormous success. He got Coach of the Year last year. They won the conference, and I think they won their first 25 games or so. But he kind of said something to me that similar to you guys, just now having your first male guest on, or male guests on, we're having our first female guest on, and he kind of sent me a text like, before he didn't know I had you guys on, so I can already say I already had you guys committed. But he's like, man, you ever gonna have some females on some women's coaches on there? And so I love the fact that so the Kobe Bryant and me, I'll be being married to a coach, the girl dad. I love how Kobe was all about the WNBA. I love that he was all about taking his daughter to games and coaching his daughter. I think he was such a powerful light to be as great as he was, one of the greatest to ever play, to be all about the women's game and not faking it, not just doing it just because he had daughters, but he was legitimate an ambassador. So by no means am I following his footsteps, but with his mama mentality, I'm stealing from him and just wanting to continue to do some of the same things. So my last question, and I'll be quiet for the rest of the night, is your why in coaching, or your why and why you're involved in basketball.
Take it away.
My why. I think my why is, so I have a spiritual gift and it's shepherding. I legitimately, yes, I worked for a ministry. I had a really great internship with a really cool ministry, and they just literally added our lives, and in a good way. But it was really cool because we got to learn about our spiritual gifts. Anyway, mine is shepherding. With that, I have a sub or side gift of visionary, where I take my own experiences and I want people to learn from them and to not follow in my footsteps, but to, better that way. And so I think my why is just leaving people better than I found them. My why is to meet people where they are. I don't like the term boss. I think a lot of people my whole life have deemed me a leader, and I never really knew what to do with it. I was like, oh, I can tell people what to do, but it's not. It's you just have a special power to love people super well and then to help guide them, essentially. And so I think it's just with that, I want, my why is for people, especially women and girls, to walk into a room and feel like they're supposed to be there, and feel invited and not feel uncomfortable, not feel like they're being stared at or looked at for, not what's in their heads and things like that. So yeah.
Another one.
Stop doing that.
I need the mic emoji. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you guys do this when you host and ask questions, or is it just is this the first time mic drop thing?
For some reason, I'm super hyped tonight, so I'm just loving Erin's answers. So I'm trying to be encouraged.
I love it. Great teammates.
Yes.
Values.
We'll work on that mic emoji too. We'll work on that.
We pay for Zoom. We might as well get to have some cool features,
I know, right? I know. They got to be a download or an update or something.
I would say for my answer, but Erin, that was really good. It's just even cool to see your growth from the first time we had a Zoom to now. It's whoa, incredible, incredible.
Praise hands.
But no, I would say my why is that, I'm using basketball as a bridge to connect with people and help people find their purpose, because when you find your purpose, like you walk differently. And so that's like been really big for me. And like, I find joy like in this every single day. And like your vibe is a product of your heart and not your environment. And it took me a long time to realize that. And so for me, like my why is like helping people find their identity, because like for a couple years, I didn't know who I was. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just like poured so much into basketball, tried to pour into other people. But like, you know, my why is like being able to pour into myself. Like somebody used the term the other day, ministering through the overflow. So like, we're going to fill ourselves up and, you know, read a lot of scripture and be like spend time with God. And then we're going to be able to pour into others. And like, that's my why. Like, I want to pour into others and like have them feel this joy and like have them find their purpose. And so that's really big. Like, I think for me, like Erin said, you know, shepherding and like visionary, like I think I'm a connector and like encourager. And so for me, that's really big. Like, I want to connect people together so that they can, you know, lift other people up, you know, find that job that they love, you know, everything in between. But I also want to like encourage people, because sometimes it's really hard when you're down to see the big picture of things, but like really enjoying the process and not just the product is something that's my why. Like, it's just so much more than basketball, but I think like basketball, I love hoops. I'm a gym rat, and like I've found my vehicle to like helping people find their passion and their purpose through basketball.
Big time. Your turn, Erin. You got to do it. You got to come on now. Get with the program. Yeah. And the face. You got. That was good. That was good.
I love
that. Good. Job well done. So we got a cool thing that we're going to end with, but we'll end it after we open for questions one last time, and then we got a cool hot seat thing for both of you to do at the very end. So audience questions for a few minutes, and then we'll end with the hot seat. And it can be comments. It doesn't have to be just be questions. It can be comments too. Obviously, these ladies have crushed it and dominated the whole thing, so I don't know if there's many more answers they can give, but even if you have comments, feel free.
I just want to say thank you to both of you ladies for being here tonight. Lots of great jams. I'll definitely watch the recording. I had to tune out for a little bit, but I'll definitely watch the recording and catch some more gems that I missed. But thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching.
Well said, Jacob. Coach Davis, feel free. I know you're kind of proud over there, even though she kind of exposed your voice and your coaching voice, and you know, but she did say you'd be walking down the aisle if Pops wasn't around. So you feel free to comment, Coach. I'm not putting you on the spot. See, he hit on me.
He's trying to get unmuted.
Right.
There you go.
There we go. You know what? I don't have much to say. I mean, I'm proud of both of them for just following their dreams and pushing hard to be successful. And I don't really want to say too much because it's really their show. But I guess I will say one thing about Erin. You know, in sports, people talk about elite players. And I think for the most part, no one really spends a lot of time capturing the essence of things that make a team successful. Erin and I used to sometimes have these little situations in games where I would actually tell her to shut up because she talked a lot. But her last year, I actually watched footage of us play. And when I watched footage of us play, what I realized is Erin was very elite in her ability to hold the team together. She literally talked for the whole entire game. She talked about where people should be on defense, where people should be on offense. As she was running up and down the court, I noticed she was always having a conversation, even in the flow of the game, with her teammate. And that carried off the court, that translated to the activities, the times we spent together. But as she was truly a high-level Division I player when it came to being the glue. And that particular individual who made everybody better just simply because of her presence.
Very well. I knew you had some gems over there. I think that's like a double mic drop for the whole
No, you know what? I got to tell this other story about Erin too. So Erin was going to train with M14. And Erin had this idea that she wanted to be this ball handler. So she shows practice and she's putting the ball on the floor and doing all this other stuff. Now, as good as Erin was, she wasn't exceptionally quick or fast. And she was having some struggles with the ball handling. So I had to walk over to her and I said, Erin, you really don't want to deal with stereotypes right now. You really don't. You're trying to get outside of that box. I said, but we're going to have to put you back in the stereotype, Erin. You are a shooter. That's what you do well. We're going to get you D1 being a shooter. We're not going to get you D1 handling the ball. So from this point on, just shoot, stop dribbling. She actually listened.
I love it. I love it. That's good stuff, Coach. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you sharing some good entertainment for us. We needed that. Coach
I
Tandy?
did finish the #1 shooter on my team. I just want to say I just shot. That's all. The body never caught up. Even in college, did not catch up. But the shot got better. So
You were coachable, though. You were coachable. That's good.
barely.
Not to say you didn't have something to say, but you were coachable. We're going to let Coach Tandy say a little something, and then I got our hot seat.
Ashton, I just want to say something to you. I've been watching you because you're sitting with my girl all the time. So I'm like, who is this Ashton? Let me do some digging and just kind of see who you are. And I am just so proud of who you are. I didn't know your journey of being baptized in December, but now I can kind of see it. I kind of see that maturity, that spiritual growth and maturity. I think that you have to remember that it's so key what you're doing on the men's side and your impact over there. How you're leading right now there will really trickle down to a lot of women, young women who want that same kind of opportunity. So you have that impact that is so huge right now on your career, but because you're leading in a godly way and having that spiritual perspective as you walk, I just really see your future being, huge. So I started listening to Women in Sports because of Erin, but I became an Ashton fan too because of who you are and how you're carrying yourself. And I'm just, again, as an older woman, I'm older than you. I'm not that old, but I'm older than you. I am so proud of you, Ashton, and I just can't wait to see how your future unfolds.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, the two world changers. So honored to have you guys both on. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm behind the scenes, but I'm cheering and rooting every week. See all the light that you guys have and so much similarities. I'm much older, as Coach alluded to, but just for you guys to find your space and your purpose and your why and your faith and you're beyond your years. And I think that's the cool part about the whole thing, to just know you guys both at this point in your lives and what you're doing, and just can see nothing but greatness ahead, not because of anything else other than you know who you are and you know what your purpose is and you're not afraid to own that part. I think that's one of the hardest things in this profession, because not only just this profession, but this world, social media, trying to fit in with this, trying to figure out that. But our business is very challenging. It's a hard profession. It's not an easy one. So for you ladies to be coming into your own during this pandemic, and not only that, but you're empowering other women and other people and other leaders to come into their own. And I think that is the part that anytime you're sowing seeds, the good Lord knows you're going to reap the benefit. And you're not doing it for that, but your heart is so pure, and your reason why you do what you do, your joy and your passion is so pure. And that's needed. That's needed for people to learn how to own that space. So I salute you both. Love that you got to come on. I love that you guys were willing to. I know there was some behind the scenes recruiting done and some so I appreciate all the togetherness on that, and you guys trusted me to come on and get a chance for us as Rising Coaches family, and for me to be able to pay it back forward to you ladies, what you're paying to so many. So I hope you guys feel empowered today, and from this day forward to just tell your story. Your story matters. Who you are matters, and how you're doing it matters. So the fun part for the hot seat is So you get as much time as you want, but both of you have to end by saying something about the other person. And then we drops the mic.
That's
Oh,
it.
that's so easy. That's so easy.
I know, but it's fun though. So no time limit. You get to say whatever you want to say. Before we end, we have you guys have a show Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct. 7 p.m. Central. Women's Sports is weekly to this point, but follow them at, if you don't mind, put it in chat. So for the Zoom, for the replay, it is at Women in Sports _RC. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you follow them on Twitter and I believe Instagram too, correct?
He's typing it up right now, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I was telling Gerald I loved him. Sorry. Okay.
I just want people to hear it for the replay, and then weekly there at 7, but easily found Women in Sports. If not, you go to Rising Coaches, you'll find their replays on Rising Coaches as well. And if you haven't become a member, become a member. And then for us, we have a social justice call after their call on Thursday that features 4 of the equality groups in college basketball. We'll have both female and men on there, and looking forward to that. That's 8 p.m. Central Thursday. So we will kick it off. Hot seat, ready, set. Erin goes first. Ashton drops the mic at the end, and then we out.
okay.
So I get to say anything I want about Ashton. Is that the
Preach.
hot seat? Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, Ashton is, I'm like gonna make this like kind of cheesy, but she's like my semicolon. Like it's like things just keep going. Like there's no like, just hit it, period, hit it, exclamation. Like we just always keep like finishing each other's sentences and like picking each other up. Like I'm like, Ashton, I don't think this is a good idea. And she's like, no, this is a good idea. And then I'm like, okay, it's going to be a good idea. And same thing. Like, I'm like, no, this is gonna be a good idea. We're going to go for it. And we're just like each other's like cheerleaders hardcore. And yeah, just like that semicolon, like there's just, it just keeps going. The sentence keeps going. I learn from her. I'm encouraged by her. We both just try to be like super efficient. And like, I feel like when you become friends with somebody, you have like these like requirements that you need to like always, do these things, like just those like subtle different ways of, just maintaining a friendship. And like with Ashton, like she does not require that. Like you just like, she just loves me for where I'm at. I'm like, Ashton, I had a really hard day. I can't answer your call. Like we will talk tomorrow. Or like same thing. It's like, I'm like, Ashton, like just call me whenever, sister. Like I do not have expectations on you. Like I know what you're doing. You don't need to, prove to me the same way. Like I don't feel like I need to prove to myself, like to her how much I'm doing. She always is like pointing me to the Lord, which I think is something like in this profession why I was like, oh, I can't be a coach because they don't actually care and they don't want that. And they, that's a hard conversation in a gray area. And Ashton's like, Erin, like, here's this really cool, message that I heard. And I think that like, we should hear it, you should hear it too. And like for me to like not get offended by that and for be like, yes, like do not, like she asked me like, can I send this to you? Like, do not ever ask ever. Like she is just like, she overflows like Jesus. She overflows everything good and everything like just powerful. And it's just been super cool to watch her, walk into all these crazy seasons of life and to just like embrace and be like so willing to help me along this journey and things like that. And just, she's the social media queen as well. Like, I feel like I'm like, please post everything. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to use emojis. Like I'm actually 60 years old, but like her just willingness to like pick up the slack from like where I just don't know what I'm doing at all, or like I don't feel adequate. And she's always like right behind me, like constantly pushing me like, no, like we're gonna do this, it's gonna be great, like all this stuff. And so I think she's just like, she's my yes girl, but she's always like yes and like yes and how are we gonna do this, like yes and like is this going to work, like just yeah, my semicolon for sure. Like there's no ending ever. I'm just gonna keep going as long as we can. So
Wow. Got me out here about to cry, Erin.
Oh my gosh, don't do that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm really not kidding, but it's okay. No, thank you. I don't even know what to say. Like there really is, like, I always like am cheesy. I'm like, there's not enough words, but I don't think words are gonna do you justice, but I'm gonna try. But like, man, like 4 months ago when Brandon and Adam called me and they're like, hey, there's this girl. I'm like, what? I'm like, who is she? Like, what does she want? You know, like I was so thrilled to talk to you, but I was like, I don't know her from Adam. Like, I don't know who this girl is. And like, boy, has like, we talk about transformational over transactional, but like Erin really does meet people where they are. And like, you know, back in May, I was like, I got to take a trip out to Colorado and see my best friend. And like, Erin was like, okay, like I'll handle it. Like, I'll see you on Thursday for the show, but I got it under control and I'm going to take it. And like, whenever, you know, I need a break or whenever, you know, I'm, you know, a little overwhelmed or stressed, like Erin's there to meet me and be like, look, here's what we're going to do. And so like Erin is such a light. Like we talked about being a light, but like it's so hard to explain because it's crazy like how our relationship grew, but it goes back to vulnerability. I think like the 5th week we knew each other, we just had a hard conversation about things like that had happened to us, and it was like bam, transformation. Like there was no turning back from that point. And like I have developed such a great friend in Erin, but like she is such an encourager, and like she serves other people well, and she makes sure you know that you're loved and valued and seen. And like it's great to work with someone in the profession that like aligns with me. Like I think she's a yes girl, like she said to me, but she also challenges me to be the best version. And she tells me like, hey, I don't think so, or hey, I don't know about that one, but like, hey, let's do this instead. And so she's also challenged me to think outside of the box every single day and to not be like everybody else and to be different and to be bold and be fearless. So she talked a lot about me, but like there's so much more about her, and I learned from her like consistently. And like this morning, not gonna lie, I was really nervous to come on this show. I was freaking out a little bit. Girl called me.
Wait a minute. Wait before this morning, though, right? Let's be honest.
Yes, I was very nervous, but like I told Erin, like I was so glad I got to do this alongside her because we've been doing this with each other since the past 4 months since we started this. So there's no better way. Like neither of us, we should just do duo interviews from here on out for the rest of our lives because this was good. But like Erin, there's not enough words for her, and there never will be. But like I'm lucky she came into my life. Like it was just out of nowhere.
Literally thin air. Ashton, I love you. Oh my goodness. Ashton and I did actually meet in person once as well, and it literally was like we had known each other. It was so funny. She's like, hey, can you pick me up from the airport?
I gave you gas money and you were mad.
I was so mad. I was like, literally, I was so mad. Yeah, no. It's been so great, and it's like just one of those things.
When I first came on Zoom, you would think, or anyone who's just come on the Zoom, you would think
like we were friends.
Yeah, you would think you guys were teammates. Yeah, my connection, sorry. You would think you guys were teammates or knew each other or had always been working together. And then when you told me the story, you're like, yeah, we just met like a couple months ago. I was like, what? So to have that natural chemistry is that's a God thing. That's a God alignment. And we thank him for it. We're blessed to know you. I feel honored. I got to be the exclusive interview, the first one. So I feel like I'm somebody in life now, but keep up the great work, ladies. Keep shining light. Keep making a difference. Keep empowering, and keep owning and sharing your story too. So thanks so much for all that came on. We'll post a replay soon, and follow Women in Sports. And even if you don't get on the Zoom, support women in sports, period, in life. And all that being said, be great and be grateful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.